Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode today. We're so excited that you're here because we know you could be anywhere on the internet watching absolutely anything, and you've chosen to join us for another episode today. I am so excited that you're here again. Come on in, say hello, drop a comment below, let us know where you're joining us from, what you're excited about with today's show so that we can be sure to say hello to you all today. My name is Jessica Jugas. I'm an intuitive mentor and the host of this show, and this is The Breakthrough. It's the spiritual view for your soul and mind where we dig deep on today's spiritual hot topics and inspire you with stories that change our lives. So I am so excited today about today's show. I know I've said the word excited 50 times, but I have good reason, I promise you. I promise you that. So we have a very special guest today. Lynn Thurman is joining us from the UK. She is an author and entrepreneur. And the reason I'm so excited to have her on is because she's actually the author of the Sea Whispers Oracle, which is the very first oracle that I have. So many of you guys know that I am releasing my own oracle cards this month. And so it really is a full circle moment to have her on the show. And mine are coming out in a couple of weeks officially. And it's just an exciting moment for me to be able to share the show with her today. But of course, we also have a couple more people that we're sharing the show with today. We have our fabulous panelists that we need to welcome so that we can get to our hot topics. First and foremost on the show, we have our friend. She is our declutter coach and consultant, helping us to stay organized and grounded through our breakthrough moments. Everyone, please welcome my friend, Heather Clark, to the show today.
Hello, hello.
Hello. So Mercury retrograde is over now, right? How did you fare through the whole thing?
It's not over till it's over, all right?
It's not over till Heather sings. Would you please sing for us?
Oh, no. I will take Mercury retrograde over me singing. Let me just tell you that.
Absolutely. I think it's good though. We kind of we eased out of it.
Yes. Well, see, for me, I think it was more like I didn't feel so much like the tech part of it this time. I think it was definitely the relationships part of it this time.
Yeah.
And looking at that and stuff like that. This is the one that I felt was the most in that sense.
Yeah.
Whereas the other ones, it's like, okay, I definitely was aware of the tech on those ones.
Well, we have had our share of tech issues on the breakthrough, but luckily everything has worked out really well, and it's on to the new thing, and it's a new day because it's the new moon. So
Exactly.
All right, up next, we are welcoming our transformational midwife on the show. She is our peaceful energy here. Everybody, please hit the heart button for our friend Crystal Cockerham today.
Hi.
Crystal's back again this week. We've had quite the run with you the last couple of weeks, Miss Crystal.
We have. And I too am very happy Mercury is out of retrograde, and I feel like all the memos have been received. I had trouble with my Canva all the way through Monday morning, and oh my gosh, don't mess with my Canva. Like that should be like untouchable.
Well, can I share with you something really exciting? So Canva is coming out with a new feature, and I am actually in their beta testing for it.
Ooh, sweet.
I have 2 words for you. You ready?
Yeah.
Canva video.
What?
Oh,
That's it. That's all I can say, folks. Up next, we have...
Oh, listen, you teaser.
That's all I can say, seriously. Up next, we have our Mama Bear extraordinaire helping us through all of the traumatic moments in our lives. Everybody, please hit the heart button and welcome our friend Siri Ridenauer back to the show today. Hello, Siri. Can you hear us now, Siri?
Oh, there we go.
Well, just when I was going to ask you if you have your I Survived Mercury retrograde shirt on.
I should. Haven't quite survived it yet, but we're still dealing with all of it. Yeah. It wasn't just the computers. All of our music equipment was messing up and everything during that time. It was like chaos.
Which can't happen when you're going to be doing a performance, right? Because
exactly.
that would be bad.
Yes. There you go.
Oh my gosh. Well, we did all survive and we're here, and I'm happy about that for another episode today. So I want to get to our hot topic because I'm really excited to talk a little bit about this. So one of our past guests from season 1, Tina C. Hines, which I love, Miss Tina. Miss Tina is doing her Live, Laugh, Love retreat in Bali right now. So everybody feels sorry for Miss Tina in Bali with all her girls in the blue water. I mean, have fun, Miss Tina. But anyway, she posted this this great article that I wanted to share a little bit about today. It is from blackmomlife.com, and it talks about the title of this article is Black Mothers Are Drowning and Self-Care is Not the Answer. So first thing I want to say is that I feel like there are instances where all mothers are drowning. It really has come to a space where, you get judged if you go to work, you get judged if you stay home, you get judged if you're an entrepreneur. And there's a lot of judgment around being a woman, period, around being a mom and choosing to do what you do. And I think a lot of women, whether they express it or not, are feeling that overwhelm. Like, what is it that I need to do in my life, and taking on a lot of stress. Now, to add on to this, we've really seen a lot of chatter over the last couple of years about self-care. You can't go to a self-help page or a coaching page or anything without hearing about self-care, right? Because it's important. That being said, I think a lot of times there's even judgment around that, around, is what you're doing real self-care? I remember not long ago, I saw an article about that, and I just tore it to bits because it went on saying basically that if you go to take a bubble bath and get your nails done, and some of these more physical ways of implementing self-care, that is somehow not valid and not real. I think it's a balancing act that has to happen between these physical things that we do, the emotional boundaries that we have in place, our spirituality, and then getting into what this article talked about, which is they're saying the real answer to this feeling of stress and overwhelm and like you're drowning is a support system. So let's chat for a few minutes about this and how you feel about self-care. And do you think that's the answer, or do you think a support system is the answer? How do you feel about it, Heather?
I honestly think all the above. Because if it wasn't for the support system over the past however many years, I probably would be like jumping off many bridges right about now. And that's with whether it being, the mom, whether it was, while I was going through my divorce, whether it was, going through entrepreneurship, going through all this stuff. It's that support system, but it's also knowing my boundaries as well. I've put more boundaries recently, and just more, no, this is what I'm doing now. This is what I'm going to be at. Like, no, I cannot do that. No, I cannot be there. No, I'm not going to do that. Why? Because I just don't want to. And not having to explain myself, to just know I just don't want to, or no, that's not what I feel like doing today. You know what I feel like doing today instead is a nap, or what I feel like doing, which by the way is very often. Yeah, I was gonna say, which by the way is very often, if I do say so myself, because for me and I always used to feel guilty because it's like, oh, well, this person wants me there and stuff like that. Oh, but I'm really tired, but you know what? I'll just go and I'll push through it. It's fine. Then of course I would get, whether it be the headaches, whether it be the moodiness or whatever. Whereas if I just had that nap, I'd be like, ooh, okay, let's just, clean slate and we're good again. Yeah. And it's setting those boundaries. So I think having that support system is important, but I also think having those boundaries and having that self-time is just as important.
Yeah, I love that. What about you, Crystal? What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I want to start out by saying a support system is key for anything, but especially for moms. Really both parents, but primarily the one who's the most active in the day-to-day and most, coordinating most of the hubbub. I feel like she missed the mark on the self-care though. And it's just because for me, it felt like she was looking at self-care as another thing on the to-do list.
Yeah.
And self-care is not a to-do, it's a be.
Yeah.
You know? So I felt like she missed that. And I think she could have gotten her point across a little better if she would have started out with the community and kind of rounded it off with the self-care a bit. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, it was kind of like the tone for me when I was reading it was like something just triggered her. And that was where the blog came from, was that triggered response. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said in self-care. And sometimes self-care is just walking out the door and being 5 minutes with yourself. You know, it's not a to-do list. It's not something that has to cost you money. It's something that you have to do to take care of yourself so that you can better and best take care of everybody else, you know, around you. So that was, I love that. Yeah, that was my big takeaway from it.
I would agree with you that it was off the mark a little bit for me as well. What's your feelings about it, Siri? How do you kind of look at the self-care thing?
Well, looking back, I think the support, like Heather said, the support is number one in anything. And that's one thing I didn't have as a mom, was a good support system. And I think that's what led to a lot of my depression and all of that, because I felt like I was doing everything all by myself. And so, yes, a support system is number one. Number two, the biggest breakthrough for me on the boundaries was learning no is a complete sentence. You don't have to explain yourself, you know, you just say, no, I'm not going to do this. And that has been a big help to me in being able to take care of myself more, because like Heather said, you know, you somebody wants you to do this or be here at a certain time. We were supposed to go to a birthday party last Saturday night, and I looked at my husband. I said, no, I don't want to go. I just don't feel like it. And so we didn't go. Didn't make any explanations or anything. Just told him, sorry, we won't be there. Yeah. It's that simple. And that has been such a freeing thing for me to be able to say no and make it a complete sentence. Not have to explain myself anymore.
Yeah, I love that too. And that importance of that, being able to say no and having those good boundaries are such a big part of self-care as well. And I think, you know, I wanted to touch on this for just a minute, because I think if we don't have, you know, if we're not being that self-care, as Crystal said, we sometimes will have a support system that isn't exactly supportive. And maybe they're playing into things that are not helpful for us. Maybe they're not listening. And they're not exactly the most helpful support system we can have. And I shared a little example of this before the show, but I have a friend of mine who had to have heart surgery this last week. And there are many things that surround this, but at any rate, he got home and he's resting, and he gets a gift basket from his friends that have cookies in it. And it's like here we are recovering from a serious, you know, surgery, and we have things in there that are not going to facilitate our wellness and facilitate our recovery and that sort of thing. And so sometimes I feel like, you know, our support system might mean well, but it's not always supportive. And I think that if we don't have that self-care and those strong boundaries and that knowing of what we need personally, it's a more difficult situation when we're dealing with things like that are not a support system that's not supportive. Does that make sense? So I think you love yourself and know yourself and have that strong self-care, self-love, self-respect in order to hopefully attract that that good support system that you need in your life. So I think there's a lot of really good things to look at here. And I definitely love to hear about all of you ladies' experiences with that as well, because I think all of us, no matter whatever kind of life that we're leading, have all felt that at some period of time, that we felt like we're drowning, we're tired, we're overwhelmed, or stressed out. And those two things, I think, really go hand in hand, the support system, but also that self-care. We can't diminish that. I think it's so, so, so important. So thank you, ladies, for chiming in on that today as well. I want to jump in and get to our guest today, because like I said, I'm going to use the E word again. I'm really excited she's here, and really thrilled to welcome her on the show today. Lynn Thurman is an entrepreneur and an author of Sea Whispers Oracle, Goddess Rising, and the Inner Goddess Revolution. And she's also recently started a very exciting project with her husband called the Quiet Rebel Bureau, and we are thrilled to have her on the show today. So everybody, please hit the heart button for our friend from across the pond. Miss Lynn Thurman is joining us today, and she's coming on right now, and hopefully she'll be able to hear us in just a second. Can you hear us now, Lynn?
Maybe.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I was having some difficulty. Thank you so much for allowing me on your show, Jessica. It's a real honor to be here.
Awesome. I'm just thrilled that you're here, and I would love for you to start out by maybe chiming in a second on our hot topic today. What does self-care look like to you, and do you feel like that support system, where does that fall in there for you?
Oh dear. Well, self-care is kind of pretty much hit and miss, but this year I kind of made it a priority. So for me, every morning I start journaling, and I get my cards out, and I make time to spend half an hour if I'm lucky, just taking time out, because I feel that, like in the lady in the article that was mentioning that self-care seemed to be kind of like a waste of time almost. But if you don't take that time that pulls out of your day, then you never get to work out what's working and what's not working, and you don't have space to be inspired to make any change if you don't take those few minutes, even if it's 5 minutes. I think you really need that going away space in self-care. Even if that going away space is in your own head and you're getting it out on a piece of paper.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's such a huge thing. And I love that you mentioned, that you just 5 minutes, the support system is really good, but you do need that time to sort of process. And I love that you start off your day with journaling as well, because that's one of the things that I do as well. I really try to spend that time with myself first thing, to have that quiet and be able to process what things are going to look like that day. So I think that's important as well. So I'm really excited to talk to you about your journey today, because I feel like I have been so connected to you through your cards over the last couple of years, and it's been such a pleasure to watch on your page, going from the oracle cards to the books, and now starting Quiet Rebel Bureau. And so I would love for you to start out your story and take us back to maybe the first time that you felt like, I think I might want to publish something. I think I might want to put something out there. What was that time like for you?
Oh, that was a while ago now, maybe 13, 14 years ago. And the first time was actually wanting to blog. So I've been blogging that long, so it makes me really old. But that's when I first wanted to publish something, although I didn't realize at the time that blogging is really publishing. I just thought, you're kind of putting something out there. So that's when I first did it. And I really wanted to do it because it was something for myself. So that was kind of like self-care. I found it very cathartic to blog. And also because if we don't share our stories about things that are going on, especially if they're kind of personal or emotional, then we don't connect with other people. Because if people aren't brave enough to publish their their stuff, say this is what's happening to me, then other people can't join in and say, well, you know, I'm going through a similar experience, and we can't relate if we don't share stories. So I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Yeah, no, it did. So I love that you talked about the blogging as well, you know, being a form of publishing, because I think, like, I've really struggled with being consistent with my blogging, because I don't think I've really looked at it in that way before. That idea that I'm you know, that it's just as important to do something like that as it is to put a book out, or to put, you know, something that's longer out. I think sometimes we don't always look at it that way. So when you got to the point of, take us through kind of what it looked like when you put out your cards, and what that looked like around there for you.
Okay, I published the Inner Goddess Revolution before the cards. So the cards were kind of my second publishing. So I just decided that I wanted to have my own Oracle deck, because I'm a bit of an Oracle and Tarot collector. I've got, you know, far too many. I shouldn't have as many as I have. So I really wanted to create something of my own. And, you know, I live near the sea and it's my happy place. I really wanted to capture that spirit. So I just thought, you know, why not? And there didn't seem to be too many sea things in Oracle land out there. So, you know, I just created something that I wanted to use, and, you know, kept my fingers crossed that other people would like it too.
I love it's so important. I think that we put ourselves really into what it is that we're putting out there. And then I can relate to that feeling of crossing your fingers and going, well, I hope somebody else likes it other than me, because this means something to me, right? So was it more like you were hoping that it would do good sales wise, or were you hoping for that connection, that somebody would feel for the cards the way you felt for it?
I was hoping for the connection, not the sales. I mean, I don't think many people get into publishing for the sales, to be honest with you. You know, to make a lot of money, you do it because you've got something that you want to express and you want to share with the world. And that was definitely the case with the Sea Whispers. And I mean, I loved it. I loved the whole process of the artwork, and then getting to write the little book that goes with it. So the whole process was a delight from start to finish. And, you know, I kind of did it for myself with the hope that other people would get it. Not necessarily buy it, but, you know, relate to it.
Yeah, I think you put yourself in it, you're going to, people will be attracted to what you put out, because like you were talking about with the publishing, you know, when you tell your story, other people can relate to it. And that's ultimately why I was attracted to Sea Whispers, because I grew up on the sea as well. And so I knew that I needed something that, I mean, every card just made sense to me. It was like, because it was a little piece of where I grew up as well. And it was almost a combination of this nostalgia of where I grew up with this person that I've sort of grown into today using the cards. So I want to let the ladies ask you some questions as well. But if you take us kind of this process that you've gone through of doing Inner Goddess Revolution, and then the Sea Whispers Oracle, and then after that you did Goddess Rising, you know, what's kind of kept you publishing, like kept you putting stuff out there, like, because it seems like it's not getting old for you, obviously, because now you're helping other people to do it as well. But what's kind of kept that momentum going for you?
I don't know exactly. I just feel like at certain moments I feel inspired to do something. My husband says I get a bee in my bonnet. So when that kind of thing hits, I will just carry on until it's done. So I don't know, I suppose I get hit by inspiration and motivation at the same time, and I can just finish the project. I don't know what it is exactly, but I know when it gets me, and then I will do it.
Okay, so when you say that, you know when it gets you, you know when that bee's, you know, buzzing in your bonnet and stuff like that, what does that look like, so that other people can maybe see that in themselves, and maybe they think, okay, no, this is not actually something that I should follow, or like, how did you know to follow that versus something else?
Okay. I usually do have a lot of ideas. They either go somewhere or they don't, or usually they don't. But when there's something that I know that needs to be birthed, I kind of feel it in my stomach and it won't go away. You know, like you get some ideas and you can think, oh, I'll play with that later, and then you forget about it. But if it's something that needs to be birthed, it will keep nagging at you. You'll feel it in your stomach or you'll feel it in your heart. And you just know, you just have this sense of knowing that, you know, this is what I've got to do now. And if you don't follow it, then the universe will give someone, you know, those ideas to someone else, and you'll miss your opportunity to do something. So I think you just have to check in with what's going on in your body, and if that idea feels right and it won't leave you, then you kind of got a duty to the divine to fulfill that kind of creativity, whatever it's going to be.
Now, did you like meditate on it, like on different ideas and whatever? Like, you know, let's say you had 3 ideas and they just kept coming up, but then you're like, okay, did you meditate on like each idea and then just see how it was there and journal about it? Or was it just no, I know this is definitely the idea?
Yeah, it was just, oh yeah, no, this is the one. There was never a choice of 2 or 3. It was just a very definite, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah, I didn't have to meditate on it, which is.
And did you just look at your husband and he goes, uh-oh, the bee's in the bonnet now?
Yeah. I'm usually quite quiet and placid and easygoing, but as soon as something like that hits, then it's going to happen.
That's awesome. That is fantastic. I love hearing about people with that, like, and just seeing how they get those ideas, and then how it's like, you're calm. No, now it has to happen.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And I know without a doubt it's going to happen. I will make it happen.
So Lynn, before you published The Inner Goddess Revolution, and even in between your publishings, I know now that you have the publishing bureau to kind of fill in some space there, but before you started publishing and in between, what is it that you do in the world? Like, how do you spend your time otherwise that allows for these brilliant insights to creep in?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I've been self-employed for 12 years, since just before my daughter was born. And I've always been into IT and business. So I've spent my time building websites and teaching people how to use technology, and also writing as well. I've been a freelance writer and a freelance editor. So there's been kind of this theme going on as well. Plus there's the spiritual side of stuff. So I've kind of always had 2 branches, the practical business side and the spiritual, doing readings, holding space for other people, doing rituals. So, you know, I'm one of these kind of I don't know, how would you say it? Like multi-tentacled people.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. No, that I think that, well, it helps me as a listener too. So I'm sure I'm not the only one who is curious about that, like curious outside, you know, about Lynn, you know, the person apart from the identities of what you've put out there in the world. So could you kind of talk us through like the behind the scenes of the Inner Goddess Revolution and Goddess Rising? Like, what was your main driving, like what made you so passionate about that, and how did that come about for you?
The Inner Goddess Revolution has quite an interesting story. That came about mainly through blogging, because I've been blogging for quite a while. And I thought, you know, it's really time to write a book. You know, that bee in the bonnet thing, I'm going to write a book. But I didn't really know how to go about it. And so one Saturday morning, a friend on Facebook sent me a random message, Lynn, you should write a book. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. And then in my Facebook feed came up an advertisement for a competition to win a book contract. And it was something I'd never even subscribed to. So it was kind of random in itself. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm getting the message here. So I had to submit a couple of chapters. So I thought about what I'd want to write, sat down, planned it out, wrote a couple of chapters, sent it off to the publisher with like 2 minutes to spare before the deadline. And then a couple of weeks later, I got an email coming back saying, unfortunately, because it was a competition, you got booked down. The magazine that was running the competition had gone bust, but they invited me to contact the publisher directly. So I did, and they gave me a book contract, and it was completely random. No, you know, one of those weird things that you can't plan.
I don't think it was random if we all know about the universe and how it works and everything.
Yeah.
Just put that in.
I was just going to say, Heather, what a perfect example of paying attention to the signs.
Exactly.
And listening to that inner voice.
I've learned the hard way, you know, when that voice and when those signs come up, if you don't want to ignore them, because otherwise you will be in trouble. So that was that. And the Inner Goddess Revolution is kind of like a handbook for women who want more from life. So it's about finding yourself, finding your passions, doing things that fulfill you. Self-care and boundaries, of course, come up in that as well, what we've been talking about today.
Well, I think if anybody's exploring, you know, their inner path to their inner goddess, boundaries and self-care are at the top of the list, right? Because what goddesses do we know who didn't have boundaries and didn't know how to care for themselves?
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's big. And then one more thing really quick, because I know Siri needs a turn. You are not the only person who has oracle cards coming out their ears and gets more. I think I even posted it in the group, but I haven't checked to see what everybody said about it yet. Okay, so this is really a thing. Who else does this? You know, because once you start using oracle cards, you love them, and then it's like, oh, but those ones are pretty. Oh, those ones are shiny. Oh, I really like the theme on that one. Oh, I gotta have those. Oh, Jessica's doing cards. I gotta get her cards because they're Jessica's cards. Right? Like we all do that. So you are not alone. I think maybe one day, Josh, we should like share our shelf. Like, here's all my cards. Here's all my cards. Here's all my cards. You're not alone.
I'll start a thread when the show's over and I'll share mine. I actually, Heather can tell you, I had so many, I didn't know like how I was going to organize them. And I really do use the majority of them often. Like if I'm working with a certain client and I know that we're going to be talking about something specific, I'll go, you know, this is the perfect deck to use for that or something like that. And so I had, I didn't know how I was going to store them. At one time they fit on this little shelf. It outgrew that, didn't work out anymore. And so I actually had a makeup subscription where I got these little bags. And one day I was like, my decks will fit in those bags. And so they're actually all organized on the shelf in these little makeup bags now. And then I have a list that says which deck is in which bag. And it's all these pretty colors and it's just ridiculous, but it's the cutest thing. Something to do. I repurposed it. I repurposed it. Siri, what you got for our guest today?
Linda, you were talking about self-publishing. Do you not go through a publisher, or do you have a publishing company that you have yourself, or?
Yes. My first book was published with a traditional publishing company, but I decided to self-publish my second book because I found the process of publishing to be quite lonely and not quite what I was expecting. But at the time when I published my Goddess Rising, the second book, because you have to put in details about the publisher, and I just thought to myself, I should just create my own publishing company because then I could put myself as a publisher, and it's something that I think I would really like to do. But I didn't, because I thought, you know, that's for other people, that's for like big companies, etc., and had moments of self-doubt. But it was one of those things that wouldn't go away. So last year, in October, we formed a limited company called the Quiet Rebel Bureau to help people self-publish. So the whole idea behind it is quiet rebels being the people whose voices need to be heard, who have got lots of stuff to say, but, you know, maybe don't shout the loudest or wear the brightest clothes or, you know, have the biggest physical voices, but need an outlet to share their wisdom. And we hope to provide that for them.
That's awesome. Jessica, are you going to share the link for that for us?
Yes, you will find the link in the comments of this video after the show, and all of her information is, of course, at thebreakthroughshow.com as well. So everybody, and I know if you just go to lynnthurman.com, that you can get to everything from there, from the Sea Whispers Oracle to the book she's written to the Quiet Rebel Bureau. It's really easy peasy from her website to get everywhere that you need to go as well. I love that you're so multi-passionate, Lynn, because I think that many of us that have been on this show and that are on the show regularly can relate to that feeling of when someone says, what do you do? And it's kind of like, well, I've dabbled in everything. And I know that one of the first ways that I connected with you, in addition to the cards, was you had done an EFT series that I followed very closely. She's like, oh, I remember I did that. And so I loved that. And was there any tools like EFT that you use when you're publishing that kind of help you through the process?
Well, EFT, I think is just like a little piece of magic. I think everyone should do EFT. Yeah, I use it all the time. And when you publish, I mean, even from blog posts to Oracle decks to physical books, there's always so much self-doubt surrounding it because you make yourself very visible and vulnerable at the same time. So there's lots of emotions and fears that come up over publishing, and EFT is an amazing tool to do that. So that's usually my go-to thing, tapping.
I love it. I loved your series on that, was amazing as well. And do you still have those videos up on your Facebook page, or have they been?
I think they're still up there somewhere, but they're quite old, so people would have to dig to find them. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they're there.
They're good though, so take the time to go find them for sure. So if someone is saying, you know, I feel like I have a bee in my bonnet and I need to write something and put something out there, who are the people that you're looking for to sort of be involved with Quiet Rebel Bureau? Like who should go there if they kind of feel that itch to write?
We are marketing our services to mind, body, spirit authors, or people in the mind, body, spirit field, because that's my kind of background. And I understand how, you know, so many people have wonderful, amazing stories, how life has led them to be of service spiritually. And yet, you know, they may be fearful of the actual business side of being an author. So I think that between my skill set and my experience, I can meet them in a place which they can relate to. And, you know, I'm not going to be worried about people talking all kinds of spiritual stuff or, you know, the woo-woo stuff, because I get it. So those kind of people. You know, your kind of people.
Well, all of you that are watching The Breakthrough are our kind of people, and the people thinking about writing, you should go to check out Lynn's Quiet Rebel Bureau as well.
So I have another question for her, Jess, after that one that you just had. So say somebody comes to you and they've not published before, and they have some works or what have you, what is it that you see yourself, and what services do you provide to take what you had mentioned before, the loneliness out of the publishing? You said you were surprised at how lonely that was when you went through the book publishing with your the Inner Goddess Revolution one. So I'm assuming you're doing the publishing company because you want to bring to people what you didn't get that you felt that you needed. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. Just being in communication with people. I I found the publishing route so impersonal. Everything was done through email. There was no phone calls, and I just found it lonely and isolating. So just having someone that if you're a writer, if you've got questions, so someone that you can send them an email, who you're talking to, or you can say, can we get onto Zoom so we can have a chat? Just being present for someone who is taking a massive step in their life. If you want to write a book, it's not something that you just take lightly, especially if you're sharing something deeply personal or revealing of your own life. It's a big step, and to have someone there to walk beside you, I just think it makes the whole process more nicer. It's just being nice and kind to people, and to giving them an experience where they don't feel so alone, and they know that if they've got any questions, that there's someone there for them.
So it's like taking that support system that we were talking about earlier in the hot topic.
Yeah.
That's the kind of, you're being the good support system for them while they're on this journey. It's funny how these things always work out, Jess. Just saying.
I know. And I have to stop questioning myself. Like, is the hot topic going to tie into the guest? Of course it will. It's enough.
It always does.
It always does. So you've done the books and the cards and the blogging and starting your own publishing company. What is next for Lynn? What's next for you? What's on your radar?
Oh, do you know what? I don't fully know what that looks like. I've been doing a lot more public speaking over the last year, so I'm sure that's not going to let up. More in-person workshops as well. I would quite like to help more people in the Quiet Rebel Bureau in their business as well, because I'm one of those people that aren't afraid of technology and have amassed over my great years now quite a lot of skills. And it's such a shame that so many people get put off with continuing in their business or starting a business because they're terrified of the website, or they're terrified of using Facebook. So I just really want to expand outwards and reach more people, because I believe that if we have our own businesses, especially as women, that we can gain more of that balance back in our lives. That's, that article was kind of missing as well, that they're saying you're so stressed, you're overwhelmed. But if you work for yourself, you can take control back of your life in some ways. I mean, it's not easy, but it's always rewarding.
I love that. I would love to finish off before we have to say goodbye, asking you a question about the importance of writing. We see so many entrepreneurs really pushing video and the importance of putting yourself out there on video and sharing more on video. Do you think that the whole process of writing is still just as relevant today as it's always been? And how important do you feel like it is for an entrepreneur to embrace writing in their business?
Personally, I think it's really important, especially for people who are more introverted, because not everybody feels comfortable watching, being on video, and not everybody actually enjoys watching video or listening to podcasts. There is that group of people that still prefer writing. I mean, I'm one of those people. I would much rather read and write than to actually talk. But I think it's really, really important. And a lot of people seem to forget also that without writing skills, you can't promote your YouTube videos per se. You need to know what to write, even if it's just in that little blurb. So I think it's more valid than ever, because if you don't write, you're missing out a chunk of people who really do enjoy the writing and reading aspect.
I love that. And I think it's important too. And I know that if you, I love that you talked about the importance of writing, even if you are doing video, even if you are doing podcasts, because you still have to write that little blurb. You still have to, hopefully your point is to connect with people as well. And I think that the writing also helps you with communication and being able to I think it is a good avenue, like you said, for those people who maybe are more introverted. And because I know there's some people who we've really wanted to have on the show, and they're just like, nah, I don't do video. Like, I don't know, that's not for me. And so even though it would be a perfect world for me if everyone was just like, yes, of course I want to be on the Breakthrough, I think that writing is still a good way to get to know those people who really have something to say. So you guys can check out all of Lynn's information, of course, at lynnthurman.com. Her links are also going to be on thebreakthroughshow.com, and you can see her Facebook link as well in the description of this video. Lynn, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today and for being on with us and telling us not just about your journey, but how you're helping people on theirs today as well.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you. And it's been great meeting you all.
Yes, you too, for sure.
Yes.
You too, Lynn, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
All right. So, ladies, it fulfilled all my expectations. Lynn's amazing. And I loved having her on. And we even shared, for nobody that's been behind the scenes with us on the Breakthrough before, I usually share a card to give us some insight. And it was a pleasure today to choose a Sea Whispers card and have Lynn be the one to share with us what that meant as well. So really, really good experience for me. I think my biggest takeaway from Lynn sharing is really that vibe of going your own direction, going the way that feels good intuitively to you, whether that's writing a blog, writing a novel, writing a self-help book, writing oracle cards. And then finally, when she was not in alignment with working with a publisher, she just published herself. And following that intuition, I just love that. And that's ultimately the direction that I had gone as well, where I worked with the publisher and I kind of just, I wanted to do my own thing. I know how that felt. What was one of your takeaways, Heather?
Just the fact of being able to listen to, like she was saying, like it was in her gut. It's, you know, it's that idea that, you know, if it keeps coming up and it keeps, you know, bringing up those, like, you know, butterflies and those, you know, you can't stop thinking about it. It's trusting that gut. And it's, again, going back to that, is she trusted her gut to go self-publishing. She trusted her gut to, you know, do this next book, to do the cards, to do all these things, and following through, not just, you know, it's not just an idea, but it's, you know, as much as we love, we have, trust me, I'm sure we all have these ideas, but it's the following through to the end and having that confidence and knowing I'm going to do this to the end, no matter what. And that, because she trusted her gut, and that's what she felt. And then she had the support system of her husband, and now they've got the publishing company themselves. So that's fantastic. Like that, I just thought was the coolest thing, like, because I'm learning to trust my own gut lately. And, you know, going to that ideas and knowing that, okay, so yeah, so I had those same feelings. Okay, so I'm on the right path. It's just, I got to listen a little better.
Yeah. What
about you, Crystal?
Well, I like that you mentioned at the end about now she has the publishing company with her husband. I love how it's come that far. And yeah, we didn't kind of mention that while she was on the air. Like, how is that working with, you know, her spouse, and how did that come to be? And I just think that's great. And I absolutely loved her energy. And it just makes me want to hop on a plane and go over and, I don't know, go shopping, have tea, go out for wine or something with Lynn, because she was just fantastic.
I love it. Yes. And I do know that her husband also does a lot in the intuitive, more mystic work as well before they did the spiritual or the publishing company. He's into a lot of the spiritual type things as well. So I know that they're very similar in the things that they like to dabble in and stuff as well. So so I imagine it's a lot of fun around there as far as that's concerned. Siri, what were some of your takeaways?
Trusting your gut, knowing that this is real, you know, you're not just another idea flying by, but you know, when you know that it's real and you are ready to move on it, and having a support system there to move, knowing there's people out there that are willing to support you through that process, which is where I'm at right now, is that process of getting published. Mm-hmm. It's like I've got all kinds of stuff, but not knowing where to go with it. And
yeah, I think you kind of need somebody that's multi-passionate to guide you through that process, and good at many of the things. I think you can have a team, that as far as publishing goes, but I feel like if you are well versed in the tech side of things and in the social media side of things and in the actual act of publishing and the writing and all of the things that encompass when you publish something, I think that it's got to be so nice to just know who you're going to talk to, who you're going to call through the process and be like, hey, Lynn, I don't understand this, or I don't, I need some help with this idea. And so for me, I feel like the book that I've been working on writing, I know where I'm going to be going because I know exactly, it's the exact vibe that I need for mine, for my project. But, and the other thing that I really love as well is that, she talked about, that self-care being important to her, again, bringing that hot topic into the mix a little bit. And one thing that I mentioned before the show that we really didn't talk about throughout the show, but that, obviously there's a lot of books out there and there's a lot of oracle cards out there and there's a lot of things out there. But Lynn always has a way of like, you can so know who she is. Even when I read the little descriptions in the Sea Whispers Oracle for each of the cards, that's her. That it's so her personality and it stands out with what she's doing. Do you guys feel like that's something that you've had to work on as well, as far as with your business, standing out and allowing yourself to be authentic and not worrying that there are other people out there that are doing something similar? How does that look for you guys?
Yep, because I know I'm not the only one that helps people declutter. And listen, why you gotta bring that up? I gotta be like that. Listen, come on now. But anyways, it brings back the fact of, okay, everyone has their own way of doing it. So bringing your own self to it. So like, everyone, you bring yourself to you're not the only one that does the moon. You guys are not the only one that does midwives. You're not the only one that does trauma. Like, it's bringing your personality and the way that you work that will attract the people to work with you and stuff like that. So it's being, like I said, I'm not the only one that's decluttering, but I have a different twist to things, or I have it, a way of seeing it that maybe somebody else doesn't. Like Marie Kondo, she's more Eastern, whereas, I cater more to the Western side where we're, consumerisms and trying to deal with that and breaking those habits. Whereas she's like, no, just go throw it all out kind of deal. And it's
you deal with the emotional too, Heather, and that's a big part of it.
Well, because it all works together. Like she does too, but it's just, of course, the Netflix program doesn't, it doesn't, tell you that. But yeah, no, because with clutter, it's emotional, it's mental, and it's physical. It's not even just the physical. Yeah, you see it, but it's because everything else happened before. So that's the thing, is learning and teaching that way. Whereas, Netflix didn't tell Marie Kondo's way. So anyways.
Well, and it's the personal touches, I think, that make it too. I mean, it's one thing to watch her on the Netflix show, but I have Heather on Zoom every Saturday helping me to do it. Like, it's a personal connection. And I think that that's what was great about what Lynn does as well, because when I first got the cards and I had questions about the cards, when I messaged, I spoke directly to Lynn. Like, it was a personal connection. And so I think that that's really important about what we do too. Now, it's not to say that once if you were to expand and get bigger in your business, that you, again, wouldn't have a team. But I think that personal touch is something that people need to keep. For me, that's really important. What do you think, Crystal?
No, I agree. Okay, I'm a Cancer. I'll own it. Everything's about the feelings. So yeah, somebody who's like really dry and like really distant, I'm really not going to connect with as deeply if I'm looking to gain something from them, right? Like, so for me, while I don't take everything personally, it's personal. So if I don't get a warm, fuzzy feeling when I'm working with somebody, guess what? I don't want to work with them.
Exactly.
If they're not open and they're not, authentic and they're not being real, if it feels like they're withholding or like there's a hidden agenda, that's not for me. And that's not how I roll either. I'm also not like right in your face, matter of fact, like, this is how it is. It's more like guiding to, this is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm feeling from you. Is this true? It's not what you're saying, that kind of thing, like helping them arrive so that they can, because, I don't want to do it for them. I want, they came to me for help. They didn't come to me to do it for them. And, the people who come to me, I can't do for them. Like, they need to do the work. But that also, commands a level of intimacy and safety, right? Because it's very personal for them. So even if I'm not, it's not like every client is my best friend, so to speak, but it's very personal, intimate information that they hold very close. And sometimes I'm the only person they ever tell in their whole life. You can't do that and not be real and not bring it all. You can't do that and have a hidden agenda. It just does not work.
Right. Yeah. And I think that best friend, even like you said, you're not necessarily best friends with somebody, but you want almost that best friend feeling, that feeling of, if something comes up, that you're going to be able to ask your questions and share how you feel and that sort of thing. I think that's so important. And what I love that Lynn has the background that she has with the spiritual side of things, and that's the authors that she's looking for her for Quiet Rebel Bureau, because you're not going to get that. Whereas if you were working with a traditional publisher, that maybe their focus, maybe that even in their personal life, they're not spiritual people, they don't understand that creativity, sort of warm and fuzzy type stuff. Lynn gets that. And so it's like, you're not going to have that, like, oh, well, I'm going to have to tell her that I want to put something about chakras in the book and they don't know what the heck a chakra is, I mean, that's got to be such a hard thing. And ultimately, when I put out my when I was working on my Colors of the Moon cards, and I was like, do I want to contact a publisher, or do I want to do it myself? I kind of felt that, like, I felt like I don't want to have to, number one, answer to somebody because I'm a little type A, but number two, I didn't want to have to explain the woo-woo in the cards to somebody that doesn't have any idea. Like, I didn't want to have to do that. And so at any rate, I think that it's awesome to, some of our main takeaways today are about following your gut, following your intuition, and going the direction that you want to go, and taking care of yourself, listening to yourself, and also having a support system that is actually supportive, that can support you in all the different areas that you need. So lots of amazing takeaways today. And again, thank you so much, Lynn Thurman, for being on the show today and kind of making it, on a personal note, such a full circle moment for me as well. It was a thrill to get to talk to you, and I'm really excited for Quiet Rebel Bureau and hopefully giving more people a voice to share their stories. Thank you so much to our panelists today. We had Heather Clark, our declutter coach and consultant. We have Crystal Cockerham, our transformational midwife, and we have Siri Ridenauer, our mama bear extraordinaire. And really excited to have them on another episode soon. We have Crystal joining us again next week, and Lori and Shoshana will be back next week as well. Our guest for next week is actually one of our panelists' father. Harley Monty is going to be here, and he is Shoshana Chaim's dad, and we're excited to have him on the show. And he actually chimed in the comments of our video today. Very funny, Harley. His question was, so is it okay for a spiritualist to use a ghostwriter? So we appreciate Harley. Harley's going to be coming on next week to share about being naturally intuitive and talk about his awakening moment. And I'm really excited to hear from Harley. I've known Shoshana obviously a long time, and then met her dad through her. And really, he's such a he's a big teddy bear, first of all. Second of all, he's such a great person for those of us who work in the spiritual realm to really learn how to clear our own energy and to have what we've been talking about on this show, those really strong boundaries. And so I'm really excited to have Harley on the show to chat with him. But until next week, join us next time on The Breakthrough, same time, same place, next Friday at 12 p.m. Central Time, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.
Blessings.